Hey guys, tonight we find ourselves walking softly along the ancient stone corridors of a place rich with secrets, Topkapi Palace. Imagine the soft pitter-patter of your footsteps echoing through halls once filled with voices of power and intrigue. Shadows flicker on ornate tiles, the air cool against your skin, carrying whispers from centuries past. Eunuchs held sway, here unseen sentinels intertwined with the Sultan's secrets, yet paradoxically overlooked by history, despite their intimate roles in the machinations of the empire. You probably won't survive this bedtime tale without a renewed fascination for history's oft-forgotten caretakers. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as we delve into this quiet, yet potent world, comment where you're tuning in from and what time it is. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your feet glide over the smooth stones worn by years of secretive paths, tread by those shadowy figures, eunuchs their lives dedicated to the sultans they served. Trusted with the innermost workings of Ottoman power, their roles were as complex as the exquisite mosaics lining the palace walls. You can almost see them now dressed in flowing robes that brush silently against the cool floor, their presence a carefully cultivated blend of invisibility and influence. Despite their positions, they were both revered and disregarded, a peculiar duality that defines their historical enigma. One of history's whispers tells of how these eunuchs came to be pivotal in the empire. It begins with the need for someone who could be trusted implicitly within the walls of the Harem, a space filled with the Sultan's family treasures, and above all his rivals. It was a world hidden behind golden lattice screens and heavy silk drapes, a world that public intrigue could only dream of breaching. Yet the eunuchs walked freely here, carrying messages, managing affairs, and overseeing the protection of the Sultan's interests. As you wander deeper into the palace, allow your mind to drift to the white eunuchs, a specific class among these unsung gatekeepers of power. Mostly of European origin, they were intermixed into the myriad occupants of Topkapi, a living symbol of the empire's vast reach. It is said that even the most minute affairs of the Harem were in their grasp. Yet still, they sat outside the circle of historical limelight. Historians still debate whether their invisibility was a subtle strategy woven into the politics of the time, or simply an oversight patched up by echoes of grander stories. Walk down a flight of stone stairs, spiraled like an ancient wisp of dervish smoke, and picture a particular surprise, a garden alive with the scent of citrus trees and delicate flowers. Amidst the colors and fragrances, the black eunuchs of African origin, with their distinct presence and duties once patrolled. Their primary responsibilities lay within this secluded enclave, overseeing the harem and managing its intricate hierarchies. You might imagine their solemn faces betraying little, but knowing all their stories rooted deeply in both power and servitude. In the quiet of this garden, pause and look up to the tall cypress trees that reach towards the sky, silent witnesses to whispers and secrets confided to the winds. A slight smirk might tug at the corners of your lips when you learn of the unintended irony These guardians seldom left palace grounds, yet their influence stretched across the empire like the expansive branches above. The palace, a microcosm of the broader Ottoman world, relied heavily on their discretion and loyalty, their lives a testament to the unseen hands that wove the fabric of history. As you continue your enchanting exploration, remember that these details, much like the eunuchs themselves, play a significant role, often unnoticed. Imagine the laughter they shared, the stories exchanged deep within these walls, creating a world as vibrant as the city of Istanbul, flickering beyond palace gates. Each stone in Topkapi's walls, like each eunuch's tale, forms the intricate tapestry that makes up the entirety of the palaces and thus the empire's rich story. With each slow, deliberate step, you feel the weight of history beneath your feet, an amalgamation of choices, sacrifices, and calculated shadows hiding in plain sight. The unexpected resilience and quiet command of the eunuchs continue to breathe through the foundation cemented by a history often overlooked, but never unimportant. Breathe deeply, allowing the mingling scents of jasmine and history to draw you further into this narrative tapestry. As you move through this journey, sense the quietude punctuated by phantom whispers of eunuchs, keepers of forgotten paths, in a palace filled with silent echoes. You find yourself on a dusty path, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of unknown spices from travelers who have walked this way before you. The journey is long, but your curiosity keeps you pacing forward, your feet tracing the well-worn trail leading to a grand, mysterious empire. It's a landscape dotted with tiny villages, each a puzzle piece in the vast tapestry of the past. Shadows stretch as the sun dips, casting elongated figures that dance along the ground beside you. Tonight your mind drifts back to tales of an empire that spanned continents, an empire that reached into every corner of life, claiming what it needed to maintain its powerful grasp. You've heard stories about boys spirited away from their homes in faraway lands, plucked from everything they knew to serve at grand palace gates. As you walk, you hear the call of distant bells, wrapping around you like a soft whisper of history itself, a history that doesn't feel distant but as close as the next step you take. It's said that these boys were transformed by their journey, molded by an empire that demanded silence and unwavering devotion. You picture one of these young souls, perhaps not much older than yourself, standing at the edge of his village, his eyes reflecting a life left behind. The decision was never theirs to make. The empire's reach was long and its demands absolute, reshaping young lives into soldiers of silence. Envision him journeying along a road like yours, though perhaps with less certainty of where it leads or what it holds. Historians still debate whether the empire's motives were driven by sheer ambition or necessity. Was the transformation of these boys into devoted servants a merciful escape from poverty or an ironclad chain of servitude? In moments of reflection, you wonder how many of these boys dreamed of running back home, their bare feet kicking up the dust of freedom. But here's a surprising twist. The very same empire known for enforcing silence among its new subjects also cultivated a community rich in expression through art, music, and architecture. It paradoxically nurtured beauty alongside this shadow of silence. Imagine the mosaic walls. They polished their intricate designs, crafted by hands too young to have known such skill. While historians paint vivid pictures of their lives, much about these young boys remains shrouded in the mists of time. You continue down the path, each step a march into the heart of the past, where different voices might have narrated different tales under starlit skies like this one. There's a touch of irony in knowing they couldn't tell their own stories, yet their existence threads through the pages of history as indelibly as a woven rug, artistry grounded in resilience. Taking a moment to pause, you cast your eyes skyward, where stars twinkle like the jewels of a forgotten era. As distant constellations weave their stories overhead, you ponder the tales these silent boys might have shared had they been given the chance. Just like a twinkling sky above, many stories remain unspoken. The air grows cooler as night deepens. Your path, sprinkled with echoes of footsteps that came before, leads you deeper into the Empire's embrace. Imagine arriving at the palace gates, those towering sentinels of power and secrecy. Would their majesty be awe-inspiring or daunting in its silent promise of transformation? This empire of yours, with its insistence on devotion, was a seamless machine of secrecy and opulence. Indeed, the historical records illustrate grand ceremonies and scripted silences giving shape to an existence both rich and repressed. Interestingly, the blend of cultures ushered in by far-flung conquests yielded an unexpected treasure trove of flavors, just as the spices in the wind hint at recipes eagerly passed hand to hand by cooks as young as the boys at the gate. The image of scholars and governors anxiously recording the empire's edicts ventures forth in your mind, a testament to the empire's relentless pursuit for both silence and record. A peculiar juxtaposition, just like the goat fat-soaked candle trick you imagined earlier, enigmatic but crucial in understanding the bigger picture. Your feet continue to trace the lines of those long past. The breeze shifts, carrying faint echoes of songs and laughter, remnants of humanity, as alive in memory as they were in existence. This empire, both predatory and beautiful, wrote itself on each soul it touched, boys pulled from their homes forever altered. As you press on through the fragrant night, there's a quiet understanding between you and the stories that accompany you. Each step whispers tales of silent transformation, as seamless as the constellations that glide across the sky. Journeying deeper, you discover that perhaps in its pursuit of power, the empire inadvertently crafted a legacy of untold resilience. And so your path continues under the knowing eyes of ancient stars, the journey whispering secrets of a transformative empire, artfully woven into the night. As you step through the ornate archway of the past, you find yourself wandering the hushed corridors of a vast palace complex. The atmosphere is thick with the mystery and allure of secrets whispered among ancient walls. Inside, a striking contrast unfolds between the black eunuchs who govern the mysteries of the inner harem and the white eunuchs whose domain is the bustling outer court. Each group stands as a guardian of a unique realm, their contrasting roles etched in the annals of history. You imagine yourself strolling through polished marble hallways, sensing the pulse of life that once animated this grand tapestry. You might not have survived the complexities of court life with its labyrinthine intrigues and shifting loyalties. The sounds of soft conversation mingle with the delicate strumming of a lute, somewhere in the distance, filling your ears as you explore further. Historians still debate whether black eunuchs, often from regions south of the Sahara, held more authority within the secluded world of the harem than their white counterparts. These men, while devoid of certain physical attributes, were brimming with political insight and strategic acumen. They were entrusted with the intimate confidences of the Sultan's consorts, wielding their influence like a finely crafted blade, unseen yet profoundly potent. As you continue, the scent of exotic spices wafts through the air, carried on a breeze from kitchens hidden within the palace's depths. You learn that black eunuchs were often closer to the Sultan's ear than anyone might have guessed, subtly guiding decisions of personal and political significance from behind screens of opulence and discretion. Their world was one of velvet shadows, where the unseen governed the ungovernable. In contrast, the white eunuchs, often originating from the Balkans or Caucasus, held sway in the outer realms, where pomp and circumstance reigned supreme. Their domain was one of ceremonial grandeur and the daily whirl of court affairs. It was said a single misstep in this world could lead to a swift and unforgiving fall. Yet here, they orchestrated spectacles and ensured the smooth administration of the Sultan's expansive empire, their roles as visible as the black eunuchs were veiled. Perhaps your path takes you past a chamber bustling with preparations for a grand feast, where the white eunuchs direct with a flourish, their commands sending servants scurrying like waves upon a restless sea. An unexpected detail catches your attention among the displays of wealth and ceremonial pageantry. You notice the careful planning involved in each staged event, an art as much as it is a responsibility. While firmly divided in duties, the black and white eunuchs were bound by shared experience. Each sacrificed personal legacies for positions of power within a rigid empire. Questions echo through history regarding their personal tribulations and triumphs. Did the sacrifice demand too much of them? Did they find satisfaction in the power they wielded? Or was it a burden cloaked in splendor? With a gentle curiosity, you navigate between these two worlds, recognizing the subtle dance of influence and authority. Each eunuch's path was one of negotiation, a delicate balance of duty and ambition, with survival often dependent on their wit and wisdom. The labyrinth of palace society unfolds before you like an intricate puzzle, shimmering with stories left untold. As you wander, you appreciate an unexpected serenity here, despite the underlying tension of courtly dynamics. The cool touch of marble beneath your feet and the ambient symphony of distant echoes swirl around you like a lulling cocoon, far removed from the harsher realities of life outside these walls. As you traverse this delicate web of history, the boundaries between roles and rivalries blur, just for a moment underscoring the humanity at the heart of power. You slip quietly from the scene, just as the stories whisper to a close, leaving behind this enchanting world where duty and desire intertwined in a serene yet surreal dance. Feeling the whisper of the night drawing near your eyelids grow heavy as each layer of history tenderly peels away. The wondrous tapestry of lives, customs, and ambitions we've explored wraps around you like a warm, intricate quilt crafted by hands, more than just human, sewn by tales of choices and chances. In the stillness, your mind drifts, and the stories meld seamlessly with the soft embrace of sleep. The voice of history fades to a gentle murmur, a soft lullaby that promises quiet dreams under the watchful gaze of the stars. You are no longer wandering through grand halls or shadowed alcoves. Instead, you're floating, embraced by the peaceful rhythm of time itself. You feel reassured that the world will continue its dance of stories and secrets, ever out of reach, but always in sight, waiting for another night to beckon you forth into its midst. And with that, your thoughts settle like feathers upon the earth, each one releasing until nothing remains but calm, and within that calm rest. As the gentle glow of dawn's first light begins to wash over the opulent palace, you find yourself amidst its marbled halls, a place where time seems to stand still. Here echoes tell tales of a past rich with secrets and sophistication, where the silent yet crucial roles performed by eunuchs unfold. In this mesmerizing historical setting, you discover that eunuchs, far from being mere silent guardians or shadowy figures, held a status woven with layers of intrigue and complexity. The corridors where you tread were once frequented by these individuals who were steeped in knowledge not just of security, but the nuanced art of palace protocol. Imagine yourself walking these halls, their stories whispering to you through the ages. You learn they were schooled in the sacred texts of Islamic scripture. These teachings anchored them in a moral tradition that guided not only their personal conduct, but also the governance of the palace they served. Scholars debate whether it was their unique position or rigorous education that made eunuchs trusted advisors in delicate matters of faith and statecraft. Your attention drifts to their multilingual talents as the sunlight glints off ancient scripts, texts carefully preserved by these learned keepers. In a setting as cosmopolitan as the royal court, being conversant in several languages was indispensable. They were bridges between cultures capable of navigating the complex web of palace diplomacy. Perhaps in a surprising twist, it was these very eunuchs who played pivotal roles in negotiations. Their skill in language and diplomacy, often underestimated by their more public-facing peers. Yet the rarity and depth of their education were not always documented in detail, leading historians to still grapple with understanding the full scope. One thing is clear: the training they received was quite unique. They were custodians of not just the physical sanctity of the palace, but of its cultural and intellectual wealth, a fact that might surprise those used to imagining them as mere caretakers. Picture the far corners of the palace, where shadows stretch like secret whispers across the floor, places where the eunuchs would engage in quiet study and reflection. These spots echo with their academic pursuit, a pursuit that held as much stern discipline as it did enlightening discovery. The rhythm of palace life was punctuated by elaborate rituals and courtesies, which the eunuchs orchestrated with practiced grace. As you imagine stepping into this role, you sense the keen observation skills required to ensure every ceremonial detail was flawlessly executed. They were, after all, masters of court etiquette, ensuring that the monarchs they served appeared in the finest light, as polished as the alabaster columns lining the corridors. Under the vast vaulted ceilings, there is a palpable presence of history, lived intimately yet discreetly. It's remarkable how these figures were recorded as both visible and invisible, a paradox of being ever present, yet seldom the main subject of historical recounts. Despite their pivotal role, the nuances of their education systems are infrequently detailed in chronicles, leading to much speculation. Did their training involve oral traditions passed down through generations, or was it organized into a more formal curriculum, secretly preserved within these very walls? The truth, much like their lives, seems shrouded in dignified mystery. As your exploration continues, you meander into a part of the palace where the past feels intriguingly alive. The echo of footsteps resonates with the cadence of lessons learned of respect, meticulously cultivated, and intellect sharpened like a well-honed blade. In this imagined journey, you find yourself momentarily assuming not just the role of witness to this past, but also a student in this vast, untapped world of knowledge. The delicate balance between power and servitude, intellect and invisibility, decorum and authenticity, each one an intricate thread in the overarching tapestry of court life. The eunuch's education becomes even more vivid as you delve deeper into your contemplation. You ponder their access to vast scripts and the privilege it took to unlock the wisdom contained within. In many cultures, literacy was a privilege rather than a right, making their roles as educated custodians all the more fascinating. Your evening at the palace might be coming to a close, but the story continues to flow seamless and fluid. There's an unexpected delight in these discoveries, akin to finding a glimmering jewel nestled where least expected. In the twilight of your journey, you find a sense of serenity, knowing these stories are part of a greater narrative that weaves the fabric of history into a rich and endless tapestry. The life and education of eunuchs were but a strand in this fabric on which empires rose and fell, and where tales such as theirs quietly endured. With this last thought lingering gently, let the echoes of history soothe you as you drift off a nighttime tale, woven into the blanket of slumber, as timeless as the stars above. The day is languidly ending the last rays of sun, barely kissing the horizon, and in the fading light, the magnificent Sultan's palace stands as a monument to both grandeur and secrecy. You can almost hear your own footsteps echo softly in its silent halls. As you imagine entering this world of velvet curtains and golden embellishments, there's a mystique that hangs in the air like an enticing fragrance. Another figure moves with you through these opulent corridors, someone whose presence is both shadow and light, a master of whispers, and secrets known as the Kızlar Asi, the Black Chief Eunuch. Draped in luxurious fabrics and an air of unreadable knowledge, they navigate realms of power with deft precision, holding sway over matters both delicate and grave. The Kızlar Asi isn't just a servant. No, this enigmatic individual goes beyond mere duty, wielding influence with an ease that rivals even the Grand Vizier himself. You sense the weight of his responsibilities, chapters of history unfurling like scrolls, the careworn voices of the Imperial Harem, relying on him and the Sultan himself, often turning to this trusted advisor in confidence. You can almost taste the tantalizing irony, a part of the palace machinery, yet ever slightly apart. Observing where others are blind, listening where others hear silence. Historians still debate whether this inconspicuous, powerful figure chose his circumstances or was thrust into them, but there is no debate about the impact. As you adjust to the dim lighting of this storied place, you can't ignore the pull of curiosity. Navigating the politics of the palace, the Kızlar Asi knew how to weave through intricate webs, ensuring the letters exchanged within the thick palace walls carried the faintest touch of his discerning mind. As confidant and gatekeeper, his mastery in discretion and intrigue arguably exceeded most courtiers' skills. Consider, if you will, the rumors that dance through the marble halls, rumors of sway that one might wield, not with brashness, but with the quiet strength of restraint. In this softened twilight story, you feel a lightness that embraces your shoulders, reminding you of that time you first learned the allure of quiet power. Then there's the age-old whisper that just maybe some correspondence never reached its intended destination, altered or concealed, to nudge the course of empire ever so subtly. There's a beauty in this cunning as delicate and sharp as the edge of a filigree dagger. The same beauty, alluring visitors to this grand palace, with stories concealed beyond its magnificence. You wonder about the trust placed in such hands that would seal confidences as surely as they would seal an envelope, and the wisdom required to balance it all. Yet amidst this endless dance of allegiances and whispers, the Kızlar Asi moves as if part of the very shadows effortlessly. Each choice, each maneuver must be woven seamlessly into the grand tapestry of sultanic rule, a tapestry with threads that carry secrets of the ages. Sleep begins to gently insist on its presence, weaving subtle dreams into the fabric of the night. But there's still much to uncover here in this realm of shadows and light, where power and silence entwine as naturally as night and day. The palace's stone walls, imbued with ancient secrets, seem to breathe softly with each passing breeze, inviting you deeper into this historical reverie. And so, lulled by the gentle cadence of our tale, the lingering mysteries of the Kızlar Asi's world beguile your senses and tug at the edges of wakefulness, promising rest. Your footsteps echo softly through the polished stone corridors of the opulent palace. The cool, smooth surface beneath your feet serves as a reminder of both the grandeur and the quiet secrets contained within these walls. You feel an undercurrent of history here, a pulsating rhythm of stories untold. You weave through a tapestry of time, each corridor telling tales of 1,000 years past. Here, amid the shadows and silent whispers, you come across a figure enigmatic and critical to the mechanics of court life, the eunuch. Cloaked in layers of responsibility, the eunuchs stand silently at attention. Their presence is constant, their tasks varied, and though they blend with the decorum around them, their influence borders on profound. Eunuchs, with their distinctive status, have garnered a place of trust. While their control over royal affairs seems understated, it's absolute. It might surprise you to know that they are the subtle orchestrators of a kingdom within a kingdom, the harem. Within the secure confines of this luxurious yet restrictive fortress, hundreds of royal women rely on the eunuch's unwavering discretion and gentle diligence. The daily routines unspool seamlessly under their watchful eyes, like clockwork invisible to all but the most observant. Their tasks are both mundane and vital. From managing schedules to ensuring the right garments are delivered from the palace's extensive wardrobes, the eunuchs do so with practiced precision and a touch of quiet grace. Historians often ponder the extent of trust placed in these individuals. Held in high esteem, eunuchs were entrusted with intimate access to the court host, to gossip no one else dared, repeat privy to plots and whispers conducted just beneath the surface of polite conversation. Consider, if you will, that it wasn't just their physical stature that influenced their noteworthy positions, but a reputation for loyalty and unique loyalty-formed knowledge that transcended the ordinary. Your steps lead you deeper into this labyrinth of intrigue, the air thick with floral perfumes and the tang of incense from the chambers. You find yourself immersed in the subtle complexity of an era long past where power and subtlety dance an intricate waltz. Perhaps even more fascinating is the fact that the eunuchs were often influential political entities in their own right, serving as intermediaries between the power behind the royal veils and the world beyond them. They were often involved in educational exchanges, guiding the royal women on matters of etiquette and worldly wisdom. Despite their importance, the details on specific individuals remain hazy, marked by historical ambiguity and personal discretion that was undoubtedly a survival skill amid the ever-shifting sands of palace intrigue. Written records offer only glimpses, leaving much to conjecture. Who among them harbored ambitions, and who were simply content in their servitude, swift in duty, and silent in resolve? It is a tangled web, a testament to both the misremembered and the unwritten. As the night withdraws into endless twilight, you muse on the eunuch's paradoxical existence, highly visible roles, undertaken with an indelible invisibility. They were indeed the silent architects of serene order, and a compelling enigma in the annals of history, trusted yet watched, revered yet often pitied. Their shadows stretched long and vivid, silently bridging the past with the present. You continue onward through these halls etched in memory and silence, cognizant of the complex interplay of power, loyalty, and subtle machinations that bind this unique society together. Without ever knowing their names or personal stories, you've observed how history reverberates quietly through the choices and actions of those dedicated to service. As night deepens, you surrender to sleep, carried away by the currents of these whispered tales. their echoes as eternal as the stone walls that witnessed them. Your journey, while paused for now, lingers in the dulcet murmurs of a time not entirely lost to the ages. In the quiet corridors of the opulent palace, you find yourself wandering amidst a hush that seems to echo with secrets hidden in the shadows. The silence is occasionally punctuated by the soft rustle of silk or the distant notes of a melancholic oud drifting through the air. You've entered a realm that few dared to truly comprehend, the intriguing world within the Sultan's empire, where power played out behind the veil, and at its heart stood the eunuchs, enigmatic figures who served as silent architects between the Sultan and his consorts. As you walk through these halls richly adorned with intricate mosaics and finely carved wood, you ponder the lives of these individuals. They're known not just for their unusual roles, but for their profound influence in a world bound by strict hierarchies and traditions. Eunuchs, typically portrayed in simplified terms, were in fact the unseen linchpins of imperial life, responsible for safeguarding letters, managing precious gifts, and sometimes even steering decisions that shaped empires, not unlike a grand game of chess, where each piece, no matter how seemingly minor, had the potential to alter the outcome of the game. One such eunuch holds your curiosity. He is Tassaduk, whose life, much like the richly colored tapestries surrounding you, weaves tales interlaced with mystery and intrigue. You can almost sense his presence here, moving silently yet purposefully, an invisible bridge connecting lives and dictating destinies. It's said that Tassaduk, with his keen intellect and unerring discretion, was entrusted with messages of immense weight and consequence. The letters he ferried were not mere words upon parchment, but vessels of power, promises, and sometimes peril. Imagine, if you will, a time when Tassaduk carefully unrolled a message sealed with the proud emblem of the Sultan. His eyes, trained to see beyond the script, deciphered more than just the inked words. He understood the lives tethered to those phrases. It was within his duty to decide the urgency with which such messages would traverse these sacred walls, and often how much of its essence reached the intended recipient. Historians still debate whether a seemingly innocuous delay in one such correspondence altered the course of alliances and rivalries within the Sultan's court. You continue through the palace grounds, where the air is imbued with subtle notes of rosewater and incense, a testament to the past civilizations whose traditions and passions these eunuchs upheld. It's fascinating, almost amusing, how Tassaduk also curated the gifts exchanged between the Sultan and his favored consort. What a task it must have been to select the perfect token somewhere between an opulent show of affection and a strategic move on the grand board of noble relationships. Did he choose silken garments delicately embroidered by skilled artists, or perhaps a rare jewel capable of holding secrets within its crystalline facets, just as Tassaduk held the Sultan's trust within his own guarded heart? Of course, the palace was more than just opulence and duty. Tassaduk, in his unique position, witnessed tales more unexpected and delightful than possibly any scribe could imagine. One legend tells of a night when the palace was cast under the spell of a rare lunar eclipse. The mighty were brought to a pause, captivated by the celestial dance above. In that serene moment, Tassaduk was perhaps busy, delivering a secret one, shrouded with as much enigma as the shadow that passed over the moon. But there is one more curious detail worth pondering. Among the many artifacts Tassaduk handled, there was an ancient weathered map, a map leading to what some believed was a garden of untold beauty. Whether it was just a myth, passed down to entertain those beneath its archways, or a treasure that lay hidden, historians remain in disagreement. Tassaduk's role in this particular legend is shadowy at best, a parallel perhaps to the evening whispers that fill the quiet corners of this majestic palace. As your journey through the Sultan's palace lingers longer, the soft glow of lanterns begins to flicker against the walls, urging you to rest. The eunuchs, including our scholarly hero, Tassaduk, retreat into their chambers, their day's labor swathed in silence. Their craft, often overshadowed by grandeur, remains essential within these whispered hallways. Secrets are guarded, history is written, and destinies are indeed sculpted by unseen hands. And so, as the night deepens, let your mind gracefully wander through these tales of elegance and mystery, a bedtime story befitting those who dare to look beyond the surface. As you peer into the dimly lit corridor, lined with red lacquered doors, the palace feels both oppressive and intriguing. It's an elaborate labyrinth, a realm of whispers and carefully chosen words. Many walk these halls, but few truly hear the voices within. Tonight you find yourself drifting back to a time when ink wielded more power than steel. Picture a scribe hunched over a solitary desk, the sound of bamboo brushes scratching against vellum filling the still air. The palace is alive with a world of ideas, treaties, poems, and chronicles, painstakingly documented by hands that never held a sword, but whose influence was undeniably sharper. As a eunuch, your world is confined to courtyards and curtains, where your gaze dances over the faces of dignitaries and rulers. The world sees you as a mere servant, but it doesn't know that behind veiled doors, you are shaping the narrative itself. Your fingers might never grip the hilt of a blade, but they hold power nonetheless, the power to pen words that could sway battles, change minds, and immortalize deeds. You know that words carefully chosen and strategically placed can pierce through deception like sunlight through clouds. In your simple monastic quarters, scrolls and ink pots clutter your desk. Here, history feels tangible, as if you could pluck moments from the air and capture them forever on parchment. The words flow, weaving tales of emperors and generals, chronicling victories and losses, not with cold precision, but with the warmth of a storyteller's heart. Each stroke of your brush is deliberate, each letter more enduring than stone. In ancient China, your voice is just one of many, singing a song of governance and culture. Emperors rise and fall, but your words become the threads in the vast tapestry of time. You may have overheard that the great general Lu Bu was not just a fearsome warrior, but also a man of poetic inclinations, finding solace in the arts amidst war. One of history's peculiarities is how leaders in epic war often turn to the gentleness of words for refuge, just like you recalling softly embroidered poems beneath the clang of armor. There's a saying you've pondered over late at night: the pen is mightier than the sword. Though coined centuries later, you sense its truth deeply. Your work is not just an account of deeds, but a compilation of emotions and personalities stitched together with the threads of politics and personal bias. Historians still debate whether certain scrolls, so beautifully crafted, were truly authentic, or the product of a scribe's imagination, an embellishment to please or placate a ruler. One evening, as you sift through stories that have become so familiar, they feel like part of your own memory. You can almost hear the clamor of battle from a distant pass, your mind filled with tales of epic confrontations. You imagine the sensation of horses thundering across the plains, their riders draped in banners that snap crisply in the wind. These warriors renowned through songs sung under the stars owe their fame to your work. These written words are part of an intricate power play you navigate each day. There is a sense of satisfaction in knowing that your influence, however hidden, can outlast the strongest armies. Seated at your desk beneath the paper lanterns that cast a warm glow across your parchment, you stumble upon the elegant verses of another eunuch poet, Sima Qian. His stories of emperors and the constellations they revered remind you of your own place among the stars, a small yet crucial piece in the celestial dance of history. Like many court scribes, your destiny was bound not in armor, but ink, your chosen weapon a sharpened brush rather than a dagger. Because of this, you etch stories that reach across eons, touching hearts long after the echoes of battle cries have faded. Each tale is an attempt to capture a fleeting moment that future generations might learn from or find solace in. Tonight, as you sit beneath a canopy of stars, feeling the gentle rush of a night breeze through the open latticework, there's a certain surreal tranquility in knowing that while the world beyond may never see your face or hear your name, your words will carry on. The ink may fade and the pages may crumble, but the essence, the raw, pulsating heart of history, preserved in poetry and prose, ensures that even in your solitude, you're never alone. The stories you pen echo not just through time, but in the hushed chambers of imagination, transforming the mundane into the magical, the forgotten into the unforgettable. Beneath the grand arches of the palace, a comforting quiet envelops you. The air is filled with the soft rustle of silk slippers as you tread lightly upon the marble floors. Breaking the stillness of night, the faint glow of early dawn slowly peeks through ornate windows, casting long shadows that dance upon the elaborate tapestries lining the corridors. Someone once whispered that navigating the palace felt like walking through a grand painting where each corner held secrets wrapped in the folds of time. The palace is more than a residence. It is a living entity with its rhythms and secrets. You begin this day as many before. While the world outside slowly awakens, you are already part of an ancient ritual where the echoes of history guide every step. This morning, like all others, begins with the serene ceremony of the dawn prayers. The soft chanting resonates through the halls, a gentle reminder that there are forces at play much larger than any single person. It's a stark contrast to the quiet corners of the palace where whispers of intrigue have outlasted empires. The prayers are not simply a formality. They are the threads weaving together the tapestry of palace life, a life dictated by a strict silent schedule. This rigorous orderliness is vital, much like the harmony of a finely tuned instrument. Missing even one note could invite chaos in this carefully orchestrated existence. Much of your day involves brief moments of profound stillness punctuated by bursts of activity. Take, for instance, the palace gardens, a place of surprising tranquility amidst grandeur. Here you may pause to admire the exotic blossoms, nurtured by generations of devoted gardeners. Did you know that these gardens were once thought to contain rare herbs, believed to hold the power of longevity? Historians still debate whether this was a clever ploy to deter potential invaders. After all, who would want to upset the cosmic balance of immortality? Moving along, you find yourself in the Grand Library, a repository of wisdom, where shelves stretch skyward, crammed with scrolls and tomes. It is here that scholars past and present have wrestled with the great questions of humanity. At times, it's impossible not to feel the intangible presence of those who have walked these floors before seeking knowledge, crafting policies, or simply escaping into philosophy. Your duties now take you through the bustling heart of the palace, the kitchens, where the aroma of spices and roasting meats fills the air. The culinary team works with clockwork precision. Each dish sent to the royal table is a masterpiece, echoing the seasons and ceremonious celebrations. One surprising fact and occasional indulgence was a humble delicacy goat fat, molded into intricate patterns served in honor of guests. While it might seem odd, this was considered a special treat that conferred prosperity upon those who enjoyed it. As evening falls, the palace shifts once again. The sun dips beneath the horizon, bathing the world in the twilight hues. The atmosphere transitions into something more secretive, layered with hidden glances and half-spoken words. This time of day invites reflection, a moment to ponder your place within this grand narrative. There are nods to the past echoes that suggest human experiences are woven together in an endless pattern of repetition and reinvention, not unlike the motifs in the tapestries hanging on the walls. And then, as the night deepens, don't forget the midnight inspections. These are conducted quietly, with the swift agility of a shadow gliding across moonlit stones. Not much escapes the notice of those who serve, dedicated to maintaining the sanctity and security of this space. It is said that the inspections also serve as a form of protection, a tangible connection between the seen and unseen worlds. With each gentle step you take through the desert of dreams, the palace whispers its secrets only to those who listen. Tomorrow will come soon enough, bringing with it the dawn prayers and another cycle of life within these storied walls. But for now, you lay aside the thoughtful weight of history, settling into the stillness of night, just like the many who came before, cocooned in the comfort of shared legacy. As you rest, consider how your own life mirrors this intricate dance of duty, discovery, and delight, a dance that has been and will continue to be performed in grand palaces and humble homes alike. The cadence of these experiences, both ordinary and extraordinary moves, in harmony with the ancient clock of the universe, luxuriating in the vibrant tableau of regal life, once meant living amidst a kaleidoscope of colors and patterns. You are suddenly nestled into a bustling courtyard where the air is rich with the sound of rustling silk and the murmurs of courtiers. Being here amidst these grand ceremonies, you realize that even the very threads that drape over noble figures are charged with sacred meaning. As you stand among the crowd, you observe the shifting hues of expensive fabrics, deep imperial purples, and bright verdant greens sweep past like the brushstrokes of an artist who paints with light itself. These colors aren't merely chosen for their beauty. They are declarations of power, status, and belonging. Historically, purple was a rarity and a symbol of immense authority, as it came from the dye of the murex snail found only in the Mediterranean. Your eye catches the subtle glint of gold thread woven through mighty nobles' robes, each stitch whispering secrets of wealth and influence. Some patterns resemble fierce creatures, lions or dragons, mythical guardians protecting the wearer. It's believed by many that these embroidered beasts served not only to impress, but also to invoke protection and power. Beside you, the townsfolk, clad in more modest attire, gazes in silent admiration, hinting that the world of colors above them is like a different realm altogether. A flicker of irony passes your mind as you remember that despite all these displays, historians still debate whether or not some simpler patterns worn by certain highborns indicated their inner standing or were simply personal preference. The once quiet procession of royals begins to move, and you are privy to one of the most piquant displays of hierarchy positioning in the procession itself. Those closest to the sovereign tread directly in their wake, basking in reflected glory. Their placement is more than mere logistics. It is an intricate dance of diplomacy, worthiness, and ambition, choreographed with the precision of a master artisan. It becomes clear to you that, much like the embroidered robes, one's position in this flowing line of humanity speaks volumes. A figure standing closer to the heart of royalty might wield more influence than those with embroidered dragons. However, one curious detail catches your notice. A few individuals deliberately linger at the back, opting for the guise of humility. Could it be they were masters of subtlety, manipulating perception in a game as perilous as any battlefield? And as the motion slows, the reality sets in. The calculated distances, the meticulous selection of garment hues and embroidery designs all swirl together to form a tapestry of social order. You ponder these ancient courtesies where appearances and silence can signal louder than words. Yet historians continue to puzzle over whether these traditions were uniformly recognized or shaped indefinitely by each dynasty's flavor. You feel a gentle breeze, and with it an invitation whispers through the cool air, a reminder of the delicate power humans have always ascribed to the simple fold of cloth or the path trodden behind a queen. Tonight, as you drift further into this world, woven from threads of the past, these thoughts linger just as stitches hold tight the fabric of history and guide your steps through dreams of empires long faded with the dawn. In the hush of the flickering torchlight, you find yourself standing in an age long past, enveloped by the quiet that often precedes the night's mysteries. As a trusted eunuch envoy of the emperor himself, your mind races with the weight of secrets you must covertly carry across vast lands. Tonight you're embarking on a timeless journey through the heart of an empire where the star-speckled sky stretches endlessly above. Eunuchs, you see, served a unique role in the empire. Their loyalty assured, they often traveled with sealed orders bound by duty and the solemn promise of secrecy. You might almost feel the crisp parchment against your hand, bearing the wax seal of a destiny not yours to share. It's one of those jobs where a slip of the tongue could mean dismissal or worse. And yes, you probably won't survive this if you dare to try a loose lip. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Be sure to post your location and local time, because after all, each moment of history is unique, just like every ticking moment of now. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. With quiet precision, you step out into the bustling corridors of the Imperial Palace, navigating the labyrinthine halls with an ease born of countless days spent weaving tales in private chambers. You're clad in garments of subdued elegance, free from the ostentation typically associated with high rank, yet marked by the unmistakable air of imperial trust. There's a certain freedom to your mission, an unfettered passage through the empire, every road open before you. Yet there's an unspoken burden too. In the hushed whispers that flutter through candlelit spaces, it's said that eunuchs have knowledge more valuable than gold, secrets that can tilt the fate of kingdoms. But history tells us that not all was fearless bravado. Beneath the polished surface of your role, the intricacies of court politics unfurl, like tapestries of intrigue. Historians still debate whether these emissaries ever wished for a life untouched by veiled glances and shadowy alliances, or if they relished the whispers of power that danced always just within earshot. Your journey takes you through a landscape that's as varied as it is vast. The empire sprawls over desert sands that shimmer with the heat of the sun, and wind through lush valleys, where rivers whisper ancient tales to those who linger long enough to listen. You travel with the rhythm of the road alongside a world that's in constant motion, yet somehow still perfectly poised in time. It's said that along these roads, the legends of the realm await to entertain and ensnare. There's always something unexpected, like the time you saw a dragon-shaped cloud so convincing it caused a local village to burst into impromptu dances of celebration, an ancient ritual welcoming omens of good fortune. The trust placed in you is such that even when night falls and the stars stretch like a glistening tapestry overhead, you go on. Step by step, your journey is marked not by miles traveled, but by trusts carried safely in your heart. There's solace in the quiet company of the moon, an unchanging companion illuminating the path of every messenger who has come before and will come after. In moments of deep thought, you might ponder your place within this grand tapestry. Are you merely a part of the machinery of empire, or do you too leave imprints upon the sands of time? It's a question echoing through the ages, a reminder of the role that messengers and emissaries have always played in the saga of human affairs. As dawn's light begins to creep over the horizon, casting golden hues across a waking world, you arrive at your destination. Here in this city that's both familiar and foreign, your mission is nearly complete. Soon you will hand over the sealed orders once more, transforming the potential energy of your journey into actions written and recorded by those with power. And though history may not mark your name, it remembers the weight of the orders carried, the secrets kept. That perhaps is the true legacy of a eunuch. In the service of an empire, the invisible threads of knowledge, binding realms together, yet often unwritten in the annals of time. As you wrest the winds of destiny once more, scatter tales of intrigue to the four corners, whispering that the night is still young and full of promise for those who dare tread its shadows. The road awaits always, with stories untold, and silence your only witness, much like the quiet heart of the empire itself, ever teeming with life and longing. In the dimly lit corridors of a sprawling palace, you find yourself drawn into a world where silence speaks louder than words. These corridors, adorned with tapestries of legendary tales, hold secrets shared by those who move unseen, and unheard eunuchs, the invisible guardians of royalty. As you run your fingers along the smooth, cool walls, you're caught up in the stories they tell, tales interwoven with whispered conspiracies and heroic deeds performed in shadows. You pause by a mosaic depicting a royal court in uproar. There, standing between the clamor of courtiers, a lone figure stands calm, a eunuch. It's said that these unsung heroes were the quiet observers who managed to change the course of history without uttering a single word. Sandaled feet shuffle past, pausing in acknowledgement before disappearing again into the candlelit darkness. In the hushed tones of the evening, you hear the tale of one such eunuch who saved a young prince from a sinister plot. History records barely a mention of his name, yet his actions ensured the continuation of an entire dynasty. The prince, fair-haired and naive, had developed a taste for sweetened wines. One busy evening during a grand feast, the wine was laced with a subtle, lethal poison, colorless, odorless. The would-be assassins thought their plot foolproof. After all, who but a eunuch would notice an improperly corked bottle or see the faint shimmer on the wine's surface? There's something intriguing about their ability to tune into details others overlook, almost like a sixth sense, refined through years of silent service. Without a moment's pause, the eunuch swooped down, slipping the goblet from the prince's grasp, as if it were a clumsy error of protocol, and tipping it precariously, only to spill its contents across the plush carpet under the guise of clumsiness. That single selfless act of spilling wine, rather than words, echoed powerfully through the governing halls of history. You continue down the corridor, visualizing the eunuch standing, hands folded in the shadows, watching as the plot unraveled. Historians still debate whether the timing was mere coincidence or divine providence that led the eunuch to that fateful decision. Whatever the truth, the eunuch remained unsung, the mischief attributed to the prince's own carelessness. Deep in thought, You wander into another chamber where stories of rebellion frozen in time dance across the walls. You learn of another eunuch whose mere presence was enough to send ripples of caution through the kingdom. In a world where rebellion brewed at the edges of campfires and in whispered conversations, it was the eunuchs, silent and observant, who first sensed the unrest in the air. Perhaps it was the knowing glance exchanged between workers, or the sudden urgency in subdued voices that boded revolution. A particular eunuch, known for his unflinching loyalty, once caught wind of such sentiments, muffled by the cover of night. His approach was subdued, an art of removing himself discreetly from any scene, gathering knowledge, like threads woven into a discreet warning. Some say he left a meticulously arranged display, a tray of undisturbed fruit on the king's desk, where there should have been none, a sign understood only by eyes trained in the language of silence. The seeds of rebellion were quashed before they could even root, the threats fading away like morning mist under the heat of the rising sun. You admire how the eunuchs operated in a world where their survival and influence relied solely on an acute understanding of human nature. Did they train themselves to tune in to the subtlest of betrayals, a shift in posture, a pause too long to be true? Historians may never agree on the full extent of their influence, but remnants of their acts linger in the annals of time, woven into the grander stories of kings and their kingdoms. These eunuchs, whose voices were subdued by choice or circumstance, orchestrated grand tales without needing credit. Their legacy sits quietly on the path of history, steps light and deft, echoing the phrase once murmured among their kind actions, whisper louder than words ever could. As you step back into the warm embrace of the night air, these stories wrap around you like a gentle, comforting quilt. You close your eyes, swaying gently, as the melodies of their silent orchestration continue to play. Imagine the stories these walls could tell if they could speak. Imagine the deeds woven by those whose silences crafted a safer world. And perhaps, just perhaps, as you drift off to sleep, you too can feel the gentle reassurance of guardians unseen but always watchful. The moon casts a soft glow over the palace, its rays dancing off the silk-draped windows, where the air is perfumed with hints of lavender and jasmine. Outside, the night is still, but within these majestic walls, the subtle undercurrents of power are very much alive. As you step through these ornate halls, you are aware of figures moving like shadows, their presence barely noticeable, yet crucial to the empire's stability. These are the eunuchs' men, without titles of nobility or claims of dynastic lineage, yet wielding an influence that would shape an era. In the opulent courts of ancient dynasties, the most powerful men might not have been towering generals or cunning politicians. Instead, many were those who sat quietly behind embroidered curtains, far from glittering sword and sharp quill. Eunuchs, despite the lack of families of their own, became indispensable fixtures within the palace, often rising to positions where their counsel offered from behind layers of gauzy veils could sway the fate of empires. Historians continue to debate the particular reasons why eunuchs gained such trust. Was it because they were seen as impartial, without personal ambitions tied to family ties or heirs, or perhaps their loyalty to the throne was perceived as pure and unwavering, untangled by the potentially messy webs of familial allegiances. Yet what is absolutely certain is that these men could hold the power to influence the ruler's ear as surely as if they were blood kin. In one palace chamber, perhaps gilded with rich gold embellishments, and filled with the fragrant smoke of incense, you might find an emperor reclining on plush pillows. Nearby, a eunuch trusted and wise beyond his openly shared opinions, delicately discusses matters of diplomacy or governance. This particular eunuch, who renounced familial connections for a life within the palace, might offer advice that changes the course of negotiations, policies, or even declarations of war. You ponder the concentration needed for such discourse, where every word is weighed with the gravity of consequence. One story tells of a eunuch named Zhang Rang, who in ancient China became so powerful that whispers in the alcoves of court said he held the empire in his palm. He was but a humble servant at first, but quickly garnered influence. His involvement in governmental affairs became so intimate that he was nicknamed Father. It seems Zhang's evolution from modest beginnings to dominance was marked by a savvy understanding of courtly life and the trust he won from the emperor, a trust profound enough to shape governance for better or for worse. Another layer to mull over is the paradoxical nature of the eunuch's existence. While they generally had no direct descendants to secure a family's future, their power within the court was formidable enough to intimidate even the most established noble houses. Is it the perfect example of irony? Historians still debate whether their ambition to leave a lasting legacy was more profound due to their lack of direct offspring. What is undeniably true is that some used their positions to amass great wealth and influence, often securing privileges for adopted kin or extended family. As you linger within this historical realm, the image of a silk-covered screen comes to mind, both a literal and metaphorical representation of the space the eunuchs occupied, not wholly visible, yet ever present and significant. They treaded quietly, avoiding the spotlight, yet making their presence felt through subtle whispers, turned strategic commands, just like the gentle breeze that somehow manages to ripple across still waters without stirring a sound. Beyond their political engagements, the eunuchs were often patrons of the arts lovers of poetry, calligraphy, and music. Their own quarters might be decorated with intricately painted scenes or filled with the gentle notes of a lute drifting through narrow, winding corridors. Imagine walking past, pausing for a moment to listen as a haunting melody plays, just barely audible behind a closed door. This complex tapestry of power, influence, and art is enriched by the notion that in those times, distinction and power could be found in the most unexpected individuals, proving that a legacy didn't always rely on bloodlines. Instead, it could thrive in the decisions made from behind silken screens, or in the quiet reflection of evening starlight pooling on the palace floor. You might feel a soft swelling of wonder at how such lives, seemingly so constrained, could indeed leave indelible marks on the fabric of history. Breath steady now, you return your focus to the rhythmic sounds surrounding you. the gentle hum of a fan or the distant rustling trees outside. The night deepens, inviting your thoughts to slow and your mind to rest, just as those quiet power players found peace in their silent strength, perhaps dreaming dreams as vibrant and influential as their waking decisions. You let these thoughts slip softly into slumber, confident that tomorrow is another story, another journey. In the grandeur of the ancient palace where the gilded columns reached for high ceilings, painted with scenes of long-forgotten battles, you find yourself part of a court bustling with intrigue. You wouldn't expect a eunuch to stand out in such a place, would you? Yet here you are witnessing moments where their voices echo across this storied hall, offering wisdom that sways even the most stubborn of kings. You hear a whisper of history, and you're pulled along, marveling at the unexpected twists and turns of fate that brought you to this peculiar role. The palace is alive with murmurs. Courtiers shuffle around their robes, brushing the cold stone floors as they gravitate towards the throne room, a place where every word spoken holds power, yet must be chosen with the utmost care. The eunuchs, typically silent observers, sometimes break their quietude. On those rare occasions, their voices carry significantly more weight than even the most revered advisors. Just yesterday, you remember one such eunuch captivated the room. The king, poised and regal, seemed lost in thought, his brow furrowed over a matter of state that had more angles than a pentagon. The court had stalled each noble present, unwilling to offer a suggestion that might draw the king's ire. It was at that moment the eunuch, garbed in the simple robes, marking his station, dared to step forward and speak. "Majesty," the eunuch began, his voice firm, yet gentle in times of great uncertainty. "Perhaps it is not the most complex strategies that we should seek, but the most direct paths." The court, initially aghast at such boldness, listened intently. This advice was not given lightly. In this storied land, every word had the power to change the course of empires. It's frequently debated by historians whether these interventions altered the course of history or merely served to punctuate the decisions of more traditional figures. However, tales that have survived the centuries tell of remarkable foresight demonstrated by these seemingly unremarkable individuals. And as if to balance their acumen with ritualistic responsibilities, eunuchs often took center stage during the kingdom's grand ceremonies. The rituals they led were a symphony of ancient customs intertwined with surprisingly modern ideas, a testament to their deep understanding of traditions and human nature alike. You notice how they contributed to the continuity of culture, ensuring that while civilizations changed, the heart of their society beat on with enduring consistency. On occasion, they even proposed reforms, suggesting changes so subtle yet profound that they reshaped the judiciary and economic structures. More than one king had been known to adopt a eunuch's proposal as his own, perhaps seeking to absorb the subtle yet undeniable influence these ideas wielded. A curious quirk of history, which some scholars argue was a direct consequence of these unique roles, is the eunuch's enduring reputation as the true power behind the throne. The question you might ask is, were they simply preserving the status quo under pretense? Or did they genuinely seek the betterment of the kingdom through progressive ideals. One surprising detail often recounted involves a eunuch who famously predicted a famine. Without the star charts relied upon by astrologers or the ears of the land to hear the whispers of the earth, this eunuch suggested a series of changes to the granary policies, which, when implemented, staved off a shortage that could have devastated the populace. As you listen to these stories, you get the sense that these figures muted and removed from the pleasures and pains of ordinary life had honed their vision until the clarity of it outpaced that of their peers. You find comfort in this knowledge, a soft assurance that wisdom can prevail in unexpected voices. So nestled in the warmth of the palace glow, you let your thoughts drift over this mosaic of insights and actions, rich with the textures of history and the serenity of unfolding tales that span generations. The gentle rustling of leaves through an open window becomes your lullaby, while echoes of the eunuch's tales guide you into a gentle slumber, carrying the weight of centuries in the softest of whispers. As the velvet curtains of night draw around you, you feel the steady heartbeats of history, merging with your own, reminding you that every voice, no matter how quietly spoken, has a role in shaping the world. The soothing cadence of the storytelling becomes your companion as you embark on your nightly journey to sleep softly, guiding your dreams into ancient courts where even the smallest voices resonate with the power to shape the future. The journey through time takes you to a moment where many sought solace not in grand actions or monumental achievements, but in the quiet corners of their own hearts. You find yourself amid the slow rhythm of a bygone era where the soul-searching tendencies of humanity often turned inward. In times of great uncertainty, individuals searched for meaning through simple acts of kindness, whispered prayers in hushed tones, and the cryptic beauty of poetry. Imagine yourself in a small room, the air heavy with the scent of candle wax shadows, flickering lazily along the walls. You're surrounded by old tomes, leather-bound, and whispering tales of long-forgotten days. As you sit, the quiet creaking of an ancient wooden chair beneath you, your thoughts meander like a lazy stream under the silvery light of a full moon. The room is a retreat for the weary mind, just as it was for many centuries ago, when people found solace within such peaceful sanctuaries. It was the 14th century, and while Europe was gripped by the throes of the Black Plague, some individuals amidst the chaos turned towards prayer and introspection. Did prayer work, you ask yourself, with a hint of skepticism, that subtle, almost cheeky reminder of your survival in the confines of modern comforts? Historians still debate whether increased piety helped stave off the pestilence. Yet during this time, the rosary gained popularity among Christians as a form of meditation and prayer, an introspective art meant to direct their thoughts towards faith and away from despair. As you delicately run your fingers over the smooth beads of your imagination, envision the calming effect it must have had. Each bead, a touchstone to a prayer, a step towards serenity in tumultuous times. Speaking of serenity, poetry served as a silent companion to prayer. Back in the midst of the 8th century, Further east, a poet by the name of Libai penned verse after evocative verse during the Tang dynasty's golden age. His work was a gentle rebellion against the mundane. His words, like lanterns that illuminated the inner landscapes of those who listened. Curiously, it is said his poetic genius was often inspired by wine and the moon, an unusual but poetic pair. In that same spirit of creativity, your mind wanders to an intriguing medieval tradition, one that likely inspired as much laughter as it did meditation. The practice of found poetry became a quiet pastime of sorts among those who sought solace in their own creativity. Simple folk and scribes alike would draw words from existing texts, rearranging them to form new meanings, and rekindle the spirit through the unexpected charm of reimagined lines. Whether the original authors appreciated this artistic reassembly is something historians still argue over, but the practice remains a testament to human ingenuity. Even smaller gestures of kindness, performed not for recognition, but out of genuine goodwill, resonated with the power of altruism. In the 17th century, Quakers in England pioneered social justice initiatives advocating for prison reforms and the abolition of slavery. Despite the challenges they faced, these small acts of resistance were like seeds planted with hope, seeking a future where such values could blossom. Imagine the whispers of their efforts passing through time, reaching across generations. Just as your thoughtful pause, your soft sigh of contentment might ripple through the fabric of your evening. The flicker of thoughts invites you to consider your own small kindnesses, the gentle smile to a stranger, or the patient ear lent to a friend. These seemingly insignificant actions have the power to transform both giver and receiver, much like those pioneers of conscience centuries ago. And as you nestle further into comfort, you find that such moments are woven into the tapestry of history, connecting you with the resilient spirit of those who lived with purpose in stillness. You might laugh at the notion of history unfolding on such a personal scale, a gentle humor that lightens the narrative. That chuckle may remind you just how far we've come and how much we share with those who sought meaning in past ages. In these stories, you trace the outlines of lives dedicated to knowing themselves better, fueled by nothing grander than the love of a well-crafted poem or the quiet resolve found in deep reflection. As shadows lengthen in your imagination, the narrative slows, gently wrapping each moment in a hushed reverence for time, unkempt, and memories unrushed. These layers of human experience, woven with silken threads of compassion and creativity, offer a gentle lullaby that leads you softly into the night's embrace. The tapestry stretches from the prayerful solace of steadfast hands to the creative bloom of poetic souls, a whisper of kindness echoing through time, an unhurried reminder that you are part of a timeless endeavor to find meaning within, like a lighthouse guiding ships to shore. These stories illuminate the path to peace. Now, as the pages of history close softly around you and the story's final notes drift into quietude, you find yourself at the heart of a serene reflection. Let your thoughts float like autumn leaves upon a tranquil stream, cradling the soft, steady reassurance of all that's been shared with you tonight. Each word, each whisper of the past unfurls like a lullaby, a comforting melody to carry you gently into the embrace of restful dreams. You find yourself in a grand hall, its high-arched ceiling supported by columns of polished marble. Sunlight filters through intricately carved windows, casting gentle patterns on the floor. This is the palace where legends are made. And in this world, you are not merely an observer, but a part of the vibrant tapestry of history that unfolds. Imagine the bustling conversations, the vivid exchanges between every kind of person you could think of: a merchant with tales of exotic lands, a scholar unraveling ancient mysteries, and perhaps even a soldier returning from distant battlegrounds, his tales tinged with the victories and losses that history so fondly remembers. And here you are strolling through this scene when suddenly the narrative of these countless lives shifts. Some of these men and women, after years of adventure and dedication, have reached a moment of decision. For the fortunate few, the mere mortals transformed by their deeds or lineage into near royalty, an invitation to retire to the royal villas is extended. Lavish homes surrounded by lush gardens and serene courtyards await your decision. Imagine waking daily to the soft murmur of a nearby creek, tending to roses that have been blooming since the days when kings and queens etched history with their choices. Yet not all these stories follow the same path. Some, having fulfilled their duties, become specters drifting through the cacophony of the city, a place of grandeur and secrecy where your every turn might take you to a place known only to those who've strayed from the limelight. Historians still debate whether such lives fade gently into the tales of time or suddenly disappear under the shadows of unlit alleyways. As you wander these streets, a character catches your eye. Perhaps it's the steely gaze of an old architect whose designs shaped the city. His name now nothing more than a faded inscription on forgotten walls. Or maybe it's the silent cobbler fixing shoes for a few coins, his craft a mystery passed down through generations in this vibrant metropolis. There's a hint of mystery around them all. Could that woman in the worn-out cloak once have dined with royalty and danced in glittering halls? Reality mingles with legend in these quiet corners, like the historical fact of a forgotten decree that ordered the construction of secret passages still yet to be discovered, leading from the city's heart to its outskirts. Real stories and legends often intermingle, leaving you to wonder how many layers of truth lie beneath the surface. It's as if history has a timeline that pulses beneath your feet, in the cobblestones and the air itself. The city adapts and shifts, a living organism of narratives waiting to be told and retold. Perhaps even now there are whispers of stories shared over a cup of strong tea, or murmured in the quiet of a candlelit room. Sometimes you're lucky enough to hear tales of the cobbler's youth, tales of valiant exploits he claims with a grin and a hint of sarcasm, as if daring you to believe such extravagances. Other times, it's the architect who sketches invisible blueprints in the air, reminiscing about designs that should have been reality but remained dreams. Historians still debate whether his abandoned drafts could have transformed the skyline. In this city, You are drawn to the royal villa's luxury and the echoing footsteps in quieter streets. Every corner tells a story. Some characters embrace their fading into the past like an honorary title, while others resist clutching to their importance like the last morning cup of tea before the sun rises. Life in this city can be a celebration of peace, hard won through relentless campaigns and the steady handshakes of diplomats past. It can also be a melody, lingering softly in quiet courtyards where history lingered and then slipped away like raindrops, trailing down a leaf to return to its soil. Just as the sun descends, and evening encroaches, casting the city in a warm, mellow light, that moment comes when stories gently fade, just as surely as the setting sun. You are part of these histories, living among the pages as they turn. And as you stand at the crossroads of the city's melody, the past, present, and future harmonizing together in this magnificent urban symphony time floats softly around you, cradling these tales that have made you who you are. As they settle down, so do you, finding peace and rest in this place where tales are spun and history softly whispers you to sleep. And here, amidst these echoes of a city that thrives on mystery and memory, with every crease of history etched vividly in its alleyways and courtyards, you rest. A gentle lullaby of tales untold envelops you, guiding you softly into dreams woven from the silk and shadow of ages past. Close your eyes gently, for the city's story cradles your mind. And rest comes as a gentle pause, a promise of tales yet to weave. The flickering candlelight casts gentle shadows across the room, and as you settle into your space, you find yourself transported to a time long past, where the mighty Ottoman Empire stands as a proud and sprawling entity. As you wander through the corridors of history, you stumble upon the grandiose palaces where secrets whisper just beyond the reach of those who dwell today. The world you wander is colored with rich tapestries, intricate tiles, and the soft rustle of silk robes as figures glide silently past. In these opulent settings, you catch a glimpse of the mysterious lives of eunuchs, whose presence in the Ottoman Empire is both enigmatic and vital. In the miniatures, those tiny detailed paintings, capturing the essence of the era, you trace their presence on the canvas. Here, a eunuch stands beside a sultan, their gaze perpetually fixed on the grandeur before them. Yet their own story remains cloaked in the mists of time. Throughout history, the role of eunuchs within the empire is significant. They are gatekeepers and confidants, holding positions of immense trust and power. Their influence can be seen and felt, even if their voices are less frequently heard in the records. An unusual detail emerges as you encounter these figures in European travelogues, where they are often subjects of fascination and bewilderment. The travelers record their encounters with these figures shrouded in mystery, adding both fact and fiction to the tapestry of their identities. It's said that the very first of them appeared as early as the rule of Murad. Though historians still debate whether he was the initiator of this tradition, or if these custodians of the Harem were introduced by his successors. As you peer into the rooms they once guarded, you can almost hear the hushed footsteps and a soft chatter that echoed off the walls. The job of a eunuch is laden with responsibility as they maintain order and uphold the sacred privacy of the Sultan's quarters. The The tales told by palace servants add another layer to this intricate narrative. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a hushed conversation. The servants speak in gentle murmurs of the legendary Kislar Aga, the chief of the black eunuchs known for his wisdom and guile, an indispensable figure in the court's machinations. Here lies another surprising element. These men, despite all that had been taken from them, sometimes held unrivaled power within these marble halls, possessing the ear of the Sultan himself. The lingering question remains, what are their personal stories, their hopes and dreams? Though many of these stories remain untold, lost in the folds of time, you sense their presence with surprising vividness as you continue your passage through this world. They are inviolable constants in a reality where the only certainty is change. In this dimly lit realm, history and myth weave seamlessly together. The tiles underfoot are cool, and a soft breeze through ancient trees outside the palace walls carries the perfume of history itself, floating through time to cradle you on this tranquil evening. As the night deepens, remember that these figures, once largely unseen in life, continue to watch over this era, holding onto their secrets, just as they guarded the heart of the empire. Tonight, their stories merge with your dreams, enveloping you with their quiet strength and resilience, encouraging your mind to wander freely but with patience, in the same way they guided the fates of those long ago. Let go of any worries as you join this timeless dance, allowing the whispers of history to guide you gently to rest. As the day settles into that deep, soothing quiet around you, a question lingers in your mind. Who really pulls the strings of power? You find yourself wandering through the corridors of history, where the dim glow of candles flickers against stone walls, and echoes of whispered conversations rebound softly. As you walk, you imagine the figures bustling around a grand hall, their faces obscured in the half-light, only exposed when they pause under the soft illumination of a flickering torch. Are these men and women mere attendants serving at the whims of kings and queens? Or are they perhaps the true architects of history, weaving the fabric of dynasties quietly in the shadows? You feel the intrigue tighten like a cloak around your shoulders as you ponder whether you're safe in this environment. Honestly, navigating this complex world of politics and power brokers might prove hazardous. You probably won't survive this without a hiccup. Yet you're here for the adventure, the revelations, and maybe a whisper of scandal to fuel your thoughts as you drift off to sleep. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Don't forget to share where you're listening from. It's fascinating to know where in the world my stories whisper their way into dreams. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself in the plush court of Byzantium, a tapestry of power and grandeur. Theodora stands at the emperor's side, a silent force of reckoning in a world dominated by men. Historians note she was more than an empress. She was a strategist, a political mastermind. Yet unlike Justinian, whose edicts reshaped the Eastern Roman Empire, Theodora's influence was more subtly wielded, like the gentle whisper of a fan, shaping the path of smoke. In the hushed gatherings, tales of her insights ripple quietly, disrupting the otherwise still surface of compliance. She encourages Justinian to resist invasions, with fierce conviction, nudging him closer to bold decisions that etch Byzantium into the annals of time. Still, despite these well-recorded feats, historians debate her role, asking was she just the emperor's confidant or his guide, quietly injecting her intellect into the empire's lifeblood. As you stroll through the palace gardens, the air rich with the scent of roses and intrigue, you can't help but smile at the thought of this paradox. A quiet force, just like the soothing nighttime fragrance, is much harder to resist than any brazenly loud assertion of power. Of course, history's annals often omit the peculiar details that reveal so much about the characters of these silent architects. For instance, a now lost manuscript once hinted at Theodora having a discernible talent for collecting exotic birds. Imagine her courtyard brimming with vibrant plumage and the echoing songs of foreign lands, a powerful woman who even amidst her influence found beauty in wild things despite chaos, circling around her like a hawk. But as your gaze drifts over the garden, a quiet certainty settles in your bones. Perhaps the true architects of history are those who understand the profound artistry of silence. Their whispers, strategies, and understated commands shift the tides beneath the surface, crafting the narrative before anyone else even knows a story has begun. This leads you along a pathway, lit sporadically by fireflies, a path that bends with a hidden agenda, much like those influential souls at court, whose movements guide the fall and rise of eras. You're standing on the very edge of this empire, a spectator, privy to histories being etched in secrecy and simplicity, the stories that others would dismiss as happenstance. It's a heady thought, this quiet power that builds empires. You contemplate whether historians will ever truly unravel the mystery behind those guileless eyes, watching from the dimly lit corners of royal courts. As you trail off along the next path with echoes of history's footfalls, blending with yours, you find solace in the open question that shadows your steps. And thus the thoughts of silent architects, just like the temperate nighttime breeze, swirl around your weary mind, guiding you softly like a lullaby. Were they truly the overlooked attendants, mere footnotes in the chapters of great rulers? Or were they the ones weaving each strand of destiny, fastening the knot of legacy tightly as the years unfurled? Historians may continue to debate, but for you, the question may not need an answer. It remains suspended there as mysteries often do, lulling your mind into a gentle curiosity. As you lay back, the story continues to unfold, just as the empires of old carried on through the ages, quietly, persistently, and oh so profoundly. Somehow in the quiet, flickering shadows, your mind drifts to a distant land, once vibrant beneath the sunlit banners of a mighty empire. The echoes of vibrant marketplaces and grand parades are now faint whispers as the empire is breathing its long farewell. Yet in this sprawling silence there remain a few steadfast souls, committed to rituals that dance like ghosts before the winds of change. You find yourself wandering down forgotten cobblestone paths, where weeds now peek through the cracks, inheriting the spaces where polished boots once marched with determined rhythm. Here in this setting lives a group of guardians, once essential, now merely custodians of ceremonies imbued with centuries of heritage. Among these enduring rituals is the ancient art of storytelling, woven in twilight gatherings. You sit amidst wisps of incense curling in the chilled air, enveloped by stories passed down through a lineage of tongues. One tale paints vivid memories of how the empire celebrated the coming of the new moon. It was a spectacle, a cosmic choreography illustrated by choreographers who choreographed not just dancers, but celestial movements. Historians still debate whether these rituals had a practical purpose or were purely driven by the aesthetic hunger of a society eternally chasing beauty. You picture yourself seated as part of the crowd, watching silently the rhythmic harmony of drums and the flare of torches reflected on your expectant face. Through this, the ritual spoke a language of symbols, casting shadows into which mysteries dared to hide. Another story drifts into focus, a curious blend of truth and legend involving the emperor's fondness for honey cakes, said to be offered to the gods for longevity and wisdom. It's this seemingly trivial ritual, one of the few that persist stubbornly, defying the empire's ebb, like a poignant reminder of past glories. Legend has it that the secret to the cake's enchanted flavor was not honey, but the aroma of wild rosemary, a symphony of scent that lingered longer than honeysuckle sweetness. The ancients believed that savoring these cakes under a canopy of stars while listening to the cicadas' nocturne could invoke benevolence from divine protectors. As you contemplate this tradition, you'll find yourself craving one well aware that baking isn't part of your bedtime routine, and such a taste might forever remain an enigma. As night deepens, casting a blanket of calm over the empire's nostalgic heart, the few remaining guardians light candles set in elegant sconces. Dark corridors of towering structures unveil a parade of flickering light, while the fading cadence of a nocturne whispers through graceful arches. Historians speak of these grand structures in their hallways as repositories of dreams, where imperfections in design might suggest a divine handwork, a sentiment still argued over dusty scrolls and coffee-dipped debates. In the hush, a midnight watch shifts in the courtyard, and you picture yourself among them, their silhouettes etched against the silvered moonlight. They keep this last vigil, safeguarding rituals as the stars keep their ancient dance. Their purpose once essential, now an homage to epoch's long-gone guardians in a world caught in silence's embrace. You wander closer, feeling the warmth of their loyalty, a steadfast beacon amidst the vanishing empire's shadow. Amidst such dedicated valor, their presence makes manifest a singular truth. While the empire may fade, duty does not easily surrender. It holds the fort, waiting for dawn anchored to history's ebb and flow, much like the sea that forever cradles the shore. Here as your feet tread the lines where past meets present, the world brims with a softness, a reflective embrace. While rituals rest precariously on the brink, they forge a tender connection to forgotten Yuletide laughter and the dreamy fragrance of springtime blossoms. You settle back into your bed, a gentle comfort weaving through and around you. The story with its timeless echoes soothes your mind like a lullaby sung with the careful love of those ancient guardians. As the night drifts on, you let go, knowing these rituals, just like dreams, may be elusive, but they linger on the edge of consciousness, inviting you to wander where past and present intermingle in a dance of whispers. Your feet move gently over the cool marble floors, each step a quiet reminder of the many who have walked here before their stories etched into the very stone. The lamp in your hand flickers, casting a warm and wavering glow that seems to breathe life into the shadows. Tonight this palace stands silent, a sleeping giant, wrapped in dreams of its glorious past. As you walk, picture the rich tapestries that line the hallway. Each thread woven by skillful hands tells a story, a snippet of life from centuries ago. One tapestry shows a grand feast where the chaos of life juxtaposes the tranquility you feel tonight. Historians still debate whether such opulent banquets maintain the peace or inflamed rivalries that simmered just beneath the surface. You pass statues of long-forgotten heroes, their chiseled faces gazing outwards as if keeping eternal watch. A surprising detail piques your curiosity. The exaggerated musculature of one statue suggests it might be more of a portrayal of ideal strength than an actual representation. It's interesting to imagine how sculptors of the time balanced realism with artistic embellishment, perhaps making them the ancient world's first Photoshop artists. Each corner of the corridor represents a new layer of history to peel back. In the candle's glow, you spot remnants of murals, once vibrant but now faded with age. One depicts a memorable battle scene, a cosmic dance of chaos and valor frozen in time. Maybe this was a battle that turned the tides of a kingdom, though time has softened its edges, leaving only whispers about who truly won and lost. The warm glow of your lamp catches on a crest set into the wall. It bears the emblem of a house that once wielded extraordinary power, but now is little beyond legend. Surprisingly, debates still rage amongst historians over the true origins of this family, as myth and reality are often intertwined. Yet the truth, much like the shadows around you, is elusive. In the quiet of night, this great palace holds its breath, and so do you. There's a sense of tranquility, yet beneath it, a pulsating undercurrent of history and the lives who've lived within these walls. You pause by a window, looking out into the garden below, where moonlit flowers bloom in silence. It's moments like these that make you appreciate the passage of time and the gentle hush that comes after a tapestry of events. Continuing down the corridor, doors stand on either side, leading to rooms that once witnessed the vibrancy of court life. You wonder what tales they would tell if given the voice, the rejoicing, the plotting, the mundane, and the extraordinary. You imagine a quiet conversation beneath your breath, just like the court whispers that once fluttered through these halls, cloaked in secrecy and intrigue. As your steps echo, you find yourself feeling at peace, the serenity of the empty corridors infusing itself into your being. The loneliness isn't desolate. Instead, it feels like an invitation to reflect and explore, much like reading a thick, dusty tome filled with stories from the past. Perhaps you might find a place to sit to rest and soak in the ambience as you let the history around you lull you into calm. And just like that, the night deepens, the palace rests, and you too may sink gently into sleep, letting the walls hold your dreams as they have stored the memories of those before you. A candle flickers low, its light slowly surrendering to the night. As you reach your destination, an ornate doorway stands as a silent guardian. The room it conceals has witnessed countless stories, births, deaths, love declared in whispered secrets, and 1,000 unsung moments of history. Soon, the gentle hum of the night begins to weave into a lullaby. Outside, crickets play their lilting tune, while fireflies dance in silent grace across the gardens. Imagine yourself wrapped in the palace's embrace, where its protective silence offers a haven for your thoughts to wander gently. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the boundaries of reality blur with a world painted by dreams. The eunuch's journey through the corridor now serves as a gentle guide, leading you into the realms of imagination, where each shadow and each corner holds a new adventure waiting to be dreamed. And so, let go of the day's concerns and let the tranquility of this ancient place hug you close. Whatever dreams come this night, may they be sweet, like the stories the winds whisper past these ancient windows. Let yourself drift as the palace watches over, gently holding you in a reverie that feels timeless and infinite. In a tender moment of silence, as the last light dims, know that you are part of this grand, eternal tapestry of life, melding with the echoes of history, wrapped securely in the night's gentle embrace. Rest easy, for the palace sleeps tonight, and under its guardian watch, so may you.